I have only one weightlifting goal, and that is to deadlift 300 kilograms. This video will be the first in a series of videos documenting my deadlift journey from where I am now to the 300 kilo lift. Alright, current situation. My PB is at 252.5, and that was with an extremely terrible technique.
Let's go! Up, 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 up! Hit, 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 hit! Yes!
I was hitching like a madman because I was having one of those days where I just needed a win and I had to get it up. But we'll say my clean PB right now is 250.
Come on! Yes!
So numerically, it's not that far away from 300, but I have been around this point for a little while now. So I'm going to start taking this a lot more seriously, paying much closer attention so that I can get this 300 out of the way and move on with my life. Last week, I did a heavy squat session. Wasn't that heavy, but it was heavy enough to cause my lower back to seize up for a good couple of days, to the point that I got panicked and worried the first night, thinking, have I finally slipped a disc? Has this happened? Oh dear. After 2 days of being a bit paralysed, walking around very slowly and carefully, I lay down on my living room floor over my foam roller, and I spent 90 minutes there just gently relaxing over the foam roller, really digging into my low back and my upper back, letting it crack and pop and sink, and getting a deep massage of all the little bits and pieces. And after that 90 minutes of foam rolling, my back felt great. It felt much better. So, why did this happen? Well, I've had warning signs creeping up for a little while about my low back, but obviously you don't really pay attention until something serious happens, like, okay, now it's seized up, and I should probably pay attention to this. I'm not blaming squats. I'm not blaming deadlifts. My lower back tightness is neither one of their faults directly. I have to take into account the fact that last month I did a 100-kilometer ultra marathon, and since then I haven't had any massage or any proper remedial work done, and I haven't really been stretching as much as I should at all. Coupled with my last block of training has been 4 weeks of really heavy paused deadlifts, which is putting a lot of strain on my lower back, of course. And then this last squat session just finished me off. So I've investigated exactly why this is happening and how to prevent it going forward. Let's take a look at the squat video of where this injury occurred. Good walkout. Decent first rep. Decent second rep. Looks fine. 4. Yeah, so 5. Yeah, so if I go back to the 4th and 5th rep, right when I'm in the hole at the bottom, I can see my pelvis tucking under a little bit. Down. So my depth is good. What I think's probably happening is my pelvis is tucking under a little bit. For those last couple of reps, maybe I shouldn't have gone quite so deep. That's something to pay attention to going forward. So I need to watch out for my pelvis tilting and my butt wink. On to the fun part, my deadlift technique. Now I've looked at 2 different sources for how I'm going to change things going forward. Number 1, Eddie Hall's tutorial. Eddie Hall's tutorial on YouTube. If I'm going to learn from anyone, I'm going to learn from the man who was the first man to lift 500 kilos. At the same time as that, I'm going to look at the man of the moment when it comes to strength technique, Sebastian Oreb, the Australian strength coach. He's currently Thor Bjornsson's coach, who helped Thor on the way to his 505 and 510 kilo deadlift. I've watched the videos of what both these guys are saying, and I found the answer to my problem. As I expected, what Sebastian has said is that the positioning obviously depends on the athlete. Now, I know full well from my years as a PT that your position during a deadlift is completely dependent upon the individual. Everybody has a different optimal position. I've always deadlifted in a very narrow stance. My feet have been closer than shoulder width. It's never felt like a problem for me until now. After last week, there was a very harsh reality check, getting my low back locking up. Now I'm like, okay, I've really got to pay attention to what I'm doing. Eddie very clearly advises having a wider stance than I have historically used.
That is the perfect starting position for a deadlift.
Now the wider stance, I've noticed, is what all the strong men use, and after listening to Sebastian talk about it, the wider stance is a lot more suitable for taller men. Now I know for a fact that I am the exact same height as Eddie Hall because I met him in person and I've got a photograph of us standing together somewhere. Now granted, Eddie is 17 times wider than me, but given our height proportions and the length of my arms, the length of his arms, it makes sense to me that this wider foot position is going to work a lot better for me. I tried this new foot position in my last deadlift session a couple of days ago. Now much wider foot position, look at that. It was so much more comfortable. It's moving fast, easy peasy. So, yeah, the two things I was paying attention to in this new technique, wider foot stance and really keeping the bar scraping up my shins close to it. This is the other mistake I've been making. If we go back and have a look, we'll be able to see clearly that I was being a massive puss about keeping the bar close to my shins. Even though I'm wearing protective deadlift socks, I'm still like trying to keep it just a little bit away from my shins so as not to, injure myself? Idiot. Very stupid. I've got to keep that bar scraping up my shins to stop my lower back from taking the full brunt of the load. I don't know why I've never considered this wider stance before. I've been deadlifting for 15 odd years and I've always used this narrow stance. I think it's just a matter of habit. Now bear in mind, I was doing this session while my back was still sore. I had just fixed it with the foam roller the day before, but it was still on the edge there. But I know from my years of experience deadlifting that the best way to help a back injury is to deadlift properly. And I felt so incredibly relieved and delighted by how much easier this new technique feels. Wider stance, keeping the arms just a little bit away from the body. It was also a very good reality check for this injury to happen now. It was never my intention to become a competitive powerlifter. That wasn't even on my radar. My coach suggested I do that, and he was right to do so because it's a lot easier to lift a really heavy weight when you've got an entire room full of people screaming at you while you're trying to do it. But I must remember, my mission is to pull 300 kilos. I'm not here to be a champion powerlifter. I'm here to deadlift 300 kg. That is my only goal with weightlifting. That's what I want to do, and then I'm going to move on to something else. So, for that reason, I'm not going to fuss too much about focusing on the mixed grip powerlifting rules, and I'll just use straps as and when I want them, as and when I need them. I have another comp coming up in 4 months, where the dream would be to pull 280 kilograms for that. More likely scenario is that I'll get 270, but you never know, we can dream. So going forward for now, we've got wider stance, keeping it tight, using straps where I need to, and tons of foam rolling every single day. That's it for now. This is the first video documenting my journey to a 300 kilogram deadlift. I'll make another video in a month's time and we will see where we are at. Go lift something.